Hello everyone, and welcome to my Sister Wives For You channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. In what may be the most shocking twist since Christine Brown's defiant exit from the Brown family and the spiritual implosion of Kody Brown's polygamous dream, Sister Wives fans are buzzing, no, screaming, over jaw-dropping rumors that Janelle Brown has not only moved on, but is possibly married again, sparking a firestorm of speculation, celebration, and backlash. And at the center of the noise is the lingering smoke from the emotional wreckage of her former relationship with Kody, which has now been declared officially and permanently over by multiple fan accounts and alleged insider leaks, as viewers who once pitted Janelle for enduring years of second-tier treatment under Kody's increasingly lopsided affections are now cheering what appears to be a complete personal revolution. Janelle, long seen as the pragmatic, emotionally grounded pillar of the Brown family, more focused on stability and raising her children than drama or spotlight, has now, according to emerging reports, said I do to a new man in a private, low-key but deeply personal ceremony, turning the page on her shared history with Kody and reclaiming her autonomy in a way that fans have declared the most powerful glow-up in Sister Wives history. And while details remain scarce, the rumor mill is swirling with everything from photos of a ring to cryptic social media posts, with fans poring over every word, every caption, every blink of an eye for confirmation that Janelle is not just surviving, but absolutely thriving. What's sending the fandom into maximum overdrive, however, is not just the possibility of Janelle being newly married. It's the deafening silence and bitter undercurrents flowing from Camp Robyn, where Robyn Brown, now essentially the last wife standing beside Kody in their emotionally exclusive quasi-monogamous arrangement, is allegedly furious over the optics of Janelle's new happiness, with reports of her clapping back in subtle, pointed ways on social media and behind the scenes, and one particularly icy post, featuring an ambiguous quote about some people needing an audience for their ego trips, has been interpreted by fans as a direct jab at Janelle's newfound joy, leading many to accuse Robyn of hypocrisy, manipulation, and trying to dim the light of a woman who finally walked away from years of spiritual gaslighting. Fans have long argued that Robyn has benefited immensely from the breakdown of the plural family structure, stepping into a favored role in Kody's life while Christine, Mary, and Janelle were slowly and methodically edged out, emotionally minimized, and increasingly sidelined. And now that Janelle may have found someone who treats her with the equality and dignity Kody seemed to reserve only for Robyn, the balance of power is shifting. And Robyn, some speculate, doesn't like it one bit. Let's go back in time. Among the sister wives, Janelle was never the most flamboyant or boisterous. She wasn't the wife who started arguments, begged for romantic gestures, or cried for camera time. No, she was the workhorse, the controller of finances, the caregiver for the children, the logical thinker who made the difficult but necessary effort to keep the family going through innumerable moves, logistical challenges, and Kody's increasingly unpredictable leadership style. She gave up stability to pursue a goal she was passionate about. She dedicated decades of her life to a multiple marriage that started to fail as soon as Robyn entered the picture and took up all of Kody's time and emotional resources. Fans gathered behind Janelle like never before as she stood up for her children, especially Gabriel and Garrison, when the pandemic struck and Kody's polarizing rules revealed how broken the family had become. When it became evident that her voice and her needs would never again be given priority by Kody, she did the unthinkable and left. There was no press conference that she called. She avoided causing rifts. She simply walked away with strength and silence. Fans are certain that Janelle is finally enjoying the life she always deserved but was too devoted, too reserved, or too spiritually devoted to pursue up until this point. This is especially true in light of the recent rumors that she has found love and possibly marriage with a man beyond the public spotlight of TLC's cameras. What about Kody? To put it mildly, he's not exactly taking it well. According to insiders, Kody has become more reclusive, unpredictable, and emotionally reactive. Sources close to the production say he's struggling to accept how quickly Janelle seems to have moved on, especially in light of his growing isolation from Robyn, a woman that fans now see more as a sign of the family's disintegration than a savior. Some fans have speculated that Kody may be upset behind the scenes, especially if Janelle's suspected new partner is someone who is totally outside of their religious group. His silence on the subject has further fueled the flames. Others think Kody is just in denial, still unable to comprehend how, in spite of all his efforts to keep control through guilt, religious posturing, and performative self-pity, his spiritual foundation fell apart so completely, so openly, and so irrevocably. However, Robyn's purported response is the one sparking the most discussion. Many believe that she feels personally threatened by Janelle's happiness because of her enigmatic Instagram posts, her evasive tone in recent interviews, and her reported conflict with producers over the show's narrative direction. Supporters are certain that Robyn profited for years from being seen as the loyal one, the wife who never questioned Kody, who wept when the time was right, and who stayed while others went. However, Robyn's story feels more like strategic positioning than loyalty now that Janelle's strong post-breakup metamorphosis is taking center stage, and viewers aren't having it. On Reddit, TikTok, and Twitter, they're criticizing her, pointing out that Robyn once expressed her sadness at the family's breakup but seldom ever did anything to help or involve the other spouses. One admirer wrote, "She wouldn't have allowed Kody to alienate his children if she cared. She would have extended an invitation to Janelle. She would have tried." Robyn chose to remain silent, comfortable, and successful, until now. What does all of this signify for Sister Wives' future, then? Will Janelle verify the reports of the marriage? Will her new partner be introduced to us? Will Robyn be made to face her part in the family's disintegration at last? TLC is undoubtedly drooling at the potential ratings gold that this narrative arc may become, and viewers are demanding answers. For if Christine's transformation was fulfilling, Janelle's return is groundbreaking. Moving up is more important than simply moving on. It's about a woman taking back her story and refusing to let a man who viewed her as a support system rather than her soulmate define her. Above all, it's about what happens when the Brown family's most undervalued wife emerges as the one who takes charge, quietly, elegantly, and completely on her own terms. In the most recent episode of Sister Wives, One-on-One, Janelle Brown, star of the show, didn't mince words when she said that her ex-husband Kody Brown's courting with his current wife Robyn Brown was everything but appropriate. Janelle, 56, reflected on the history of Kody and Robyn's relationship, pointing out that they had a very long courtship compared to the rest of us. Inquiring about the dynamics involved, she said, "It is not really appropriate for a married man to have a long courtship." Janelle claims that Robyn, 46, and Kody courted for almost a year. In an open moment, Janelle admitted that she might have thought twice about marrying Kody if her own romance had lasted the same amount of time. "If I had a year with Kody, I'm not sure I would have married him, honestly," Janelle told Sukanya Krishnan on her show. "I might have seen him for a little bit more of who he was, you know what I mean? Gotten sort of off the charm ride." Janelle insisted, "Regardless, I don't need to go back and trash everything that was. If I were to say, 'Oh, I'm really sorry I did all that,' would I be in this great place?" Despite the past, showing no remorse for her choices. The history of Kody's relationships is still unclear. Christine Brown left Kody first in November 2021, followed by Janelle in December 2022, and Mary Brown, his first wife, confirmed their separation in January 2023. In order to adopt Robyn's children from a previous relationship, Kody formally married her in 2014. "We locked eyes, and I couldn't break away." Kody recalled meeting Robyn, saying, "I'm talking to her like we've known each other our whole lives." As he explained, the kind of safety combined with just the depth of connection, she's very vulnerable and I was at the time, and there was a depth of connection that I do not believe I have ever had. Kody acknowledged that he had more affections for Robyn than for Mary, 54, Janelle, and Christine, 53. "I noticed a marked difference from the beginning," he stated. During the episode, Christine added to the tension by revealing that Kody had a sexual experience in college, which he never told her about but brought up to Robyn during their first month of dating. Christine began to doubt the closeness that existed between Robyn and Kody before to their marriage. Makes me wonder how close they actually were before they got married, she thought. Christine implied that Kody and Robyn had a previous sexual experience, prompting questions about the real nature of their connection before being married, after Sakanya inquired if she thought they had sex prior to their marriage. A collective gasp erupted throughout the fandom when Sister Wives patriarch Kody Brown recently said, "Falling in love has been a painful experience." This was due to the layers of irony, denial, and emotional whiplash that were packed into that one sentence, as well as the vulnerability it suggested. Suddenly, viewers worldwide were asking, was Kody finally facing the fallout of his failed plural marriage empire, or was this just another chapter in his ongoing saga of romantic deflection and blame-shifting? Because although the sentiment appears to be introspective, almost poetic, those who have watched Sister Wives for more than 10 years are aware that behind each of Kody's deep insights, there is typically a path of missed accountability, heartbreak, and contradiction. After witnessing 3 of his 4 wives, Christine, Janelle, and Mary, leave a man they once loved, leaving him with only Robyn and a mountain of unresolved tension with his adult children, the majority of whom have expressed anger, disillusionment, and emotional distance, he finally came clean after years of public implosions, tears, walkouts, and televised betrayals. Many fans are asking, what took you so long to admit it, rather than, why did falling in love hurt, when Kody says it did? More specifically, are you referring to their pain or your own? Because Mary, Janelle, and Christine would probably contend that staying in love was more agonizing than falling. You must examine the emotional devastation left behind by the breakdown of Kody's love story in order to comprehend why his statement is so combustible. Sister Wives began by introducing a man who professed to be dedicated to a spiritual principle of multiple marriage that is based on harmony, collaboration, and divine purpose. His kind grin, charm, and assurance that he could love more than one woman equally won over audiences. However, such idea disintegrated over time. Viewers started to notice the change, how Janelle became the independent wife who was always doing her own thing, how Christine's needs were disregarded, how Mary was emotionally banished following a scandal, and how Robyn emerged as the only woman Kody appeared to genuinely stand up for, listen to, and defend, at any cost to the other relationships. And that partiality turned out to be the decisive factor. After hiding her suffering behind a happy facade for a long time, Christine eventually had enough. Janelle trailed behind, silently yet resolutely asserting her authority. Mary held on longer, expecting a rebirth that never materialized. However, Kody never fully acknowledged how his brand of love frequently came with emotional distance, unrealistic expectations, and conditional affection. Throughout it all, he talked more and more about his suffering, including how difficult it was to be misunderstood, how betrayed he felt, and how difficult it was to give love when he didn't feel respected. It almost seems like a late-stage confession from someone who is still circling the truth, but isn't quite ready to land when he eventually admits that falling in love has been painful. Naturally, fans have theories. Some others think Kody is finally lamenting the passing of his idealized future, in which polygamy would be ideal, his wives would always be centered on his wants, and his kids would always be faithful. Others interpret his remarks as a subtle jab at Christine, who was the first to speak her mind and defy authority. Others believe it's an emotional marketing tactic to recast him as the wounded protagonist attempting to mend, rather than the antagonist, in order to reinterpret his story in anticipation of a new season. When you consider all the real suffering his wives have endured over the years, Christine crying on the floor of her bathroom after realizing Kody no longer wanted her, Mary quietly observing from the sidelines as Robyn became the default spouse, and Janelle confronting him about their broken communication while suppressing years of suppressed disappointment, the weight of his words strikes differently, regardless of his motivation. They found love to be suffocating as well as terrible. Nevertheless, they stayed for the children, the dream, and the faith. Fans are left wondering, was it truly love you gave? Kody, on the other hand, now says love hurts. Or did you lose control? The worst part of all of this is that Kody still seems to associate devotion and obedience with love. He perceived a breakdown in love rather than a rise in independence when the spouses questioned him, began putting their own happiness first, and stopped mindlessly following his example. Fans find his suffering so perplexing because of this. Is he grieving for love? Is he lamenting the loss of control under the guise of love? That question goes right to the heart of the Sister Wives project as a whole. Since the show was always about power, validation, and how love functions in a system where a guy is expected to emotionally fulfill 4 women without ever being entirely accountable to any of them, it was never just about polygamy. And now that everything has fallen apart, that Robyn is the only person left, and that the framework has fallen, Kody is at last experiencing what the wives had for years. By themselves. Not understood. Questioned. And maybe that's the suffering he's only now starting to understand. However, we must not confuse introspection with salvation. Some admirers are optimistic that Kody will change after this comment, but others are not convinced, pointing to years of emotional gaslighting, cyclical behavior, and unsuccessful apologies. They note that Kody still had trouble expressing true regret in the most recent tell-alls. He continued to assign responsibility to others. His elder children have publicly acknowledged their trauma and bewilderment about his absence, but he has yet to validate their experiences. He discusses suffering but not healing. He discusses loss but not responsibility. Seeing a man finally acknowledge that love injured him while still not really understanding the extent of the hurt he created in the name of love is, for many, the most agonizing aspect of all. The quote, however, endures. It's straightforward. Falling in love has been a painful experience. It's accurate. Furthermore, Kody doesn't conceal himself behind philosophy or many logistics for once. He doesn't point the finger at Christine. He makes no reference to God. He simply talks as if he is, for the first time, looking into the ruins of what he believed love would be and discovering only quiet where 4 voices used to call him husband. And perhaps there is space for development in that quiet. Or perhaps it's simply the echo of a guy who allowed power to turn into solitude and love into power. For over a decade, fans of Sister Wives watched Janelle Brown play the role of the pragmatic, non-confrontational second wife, the quiet strength of the Brown family who always kept the peace, prioritized the kids, and handled the finances while steering clear of the emotional warfare that brewed beneath the surface. But now, in one of the most stunning revelations in the show's history, Janelle has reportedly broken her silence and called out the very foundation of Kody and Robyn Brown's so-called relationship, declaring in a rare, unfiltered moment of truth that it wasn't appropriate, a bombshell that didn't just rattle the narrative, it tore it apart, as fans who had long suspected favoritism, manipulation, and behind-the-scenes betrayal erupted in vindication that yes, someone from the inside is finally saying it out loud, and in doing so, Janelle has crossed the threshold from loyal wife to absolute legend, redefining her role in the Brown family not as an enabler of dysfunction but as a truth-teller who's no longer willing to stay silent while Robyn continues to play victim and Kody rewrites history to paint himself as the misunderstood patriarch trying to hold a broken system together, when in fact, Janelle's words expose what so many fans have felt deep in their gut, that Kody and Robyn's relationship didn't just break the rules of plural marriage, it shattered the emotional trust that bound this unconventional family together. The moment has been a long time coming. Ever since Robyn Brown entered the picture over a decade ago, viewers noticed a shift, a subtle but growing imbalance in how Kody treated his wives, how decisions were made, and how the family dynamic began to orbit increasingly around Robyn's comfort, preferences, and emotional needs, while Christine, Mary, and Janelle were left to sacrifice more and more without receiving the same emotional investment or respect. And though Christine was the first to walk away, making headlines for her brave departure and glowing reinvention, it was Janelle's decision to quietly separate from Kody that sent a different kind of message, that even the most loyal, stable wife can only take so much before finally choosing herself. And now, with this searing accusation, that Kody and Robyn's relationship crossed a line, spiritually and emotionally, Janelle has revealed what many suspected but never dared say on camera. That Kody and Robyn weren't just in love, they were in a monogamous relationship. Dressed up in polygamous clothing, and that their emotional exclusivity, their physical closeness, and their mutual defensiveness fundamentally violated the principles of equality and shared sacrifice that plural marriage was supposed to represent.